All right, good afternoon, Cyber Traders. To close out the day and the week, not just the month yet, though. That's going to be on Monday. So here we are this Friday, October 28th. Great to see Chuck still with us here, commenting on the QNGY, still on fire. Yeah, this thing is really pushing up well. And we'll go over this trade in just a moment, folks. Let me just get a quick sound check just to begin, make sure all of us here can hear me loud and clear. All of us inside the live trading room, at least. Great to see Dan still sticking with us here as well. And across the board, all of us on social media, Facebook Live and YouTube as well. Folks, just let me know. I believe I'm good to go, at least inside the Cyber Group room. So great to see all of us there. And all right, perfect. We are good to go on both ends. So with that, I mean, hey, the market has grinded on up once again today. And, at this point right now, let's just do an overall, kind of assessment of seeing what the SPY has done. We're going to focus more on the bottom of this 5-minute chart, but really from the beginning of this week, it trended up really well, ended up topping off mid-Wednesday morning, that was, and then it dropped off since. But earlier today ended up making a pretty sharp pop after the market had opened up to, lead you to say, hey, if this ends up sticking near the highs after 10:30, there's still a chance, hey, news comes out, whatever can happen where the markets can lead to a slip and break below support. But fortunately, it's easy for me to say things have held pretty nicely today across the market to the point now where we're at weekly highs. So we could close out this week really well. I ended up seeing a little resistance on the SPY chart just historically from like over 388. Then after that, I mean, not to say that there's none, but it might be an easier pump up towards 390 even before a pullback. But that's at least what's going on with the SPY. That could lead us to follow some sideless stocks here, taking us into the close. But either way, QNGY, at least for right now, this thing's been a machine. So this is actually allowed us to play by our rules really well on this trade. And what I mean by that is this. This stock is still up over 215, 220% right now. Just before it blasted over resistance at 4. I wrote in the chat board, I said, hey, with the stock moving up the way it is, like I'd expect big resistance at 4 at first. And even from there, we'll dig into the historical charts in a moment. So this isn't fully out of the doghouse just yet, even from these prices. But, it broke over 4 pretty quickly. I mean, like blasted above 4 at first, topped off at like 420-ish. All right. Well, for Dan, Grant, Gene, Charles, all of us inside the live trading room, simple question that you folks always answer for me, in class. But when a stock breaks above a resistance and pops off, it runs off it a bit. Resistance flips into what? Support, right? So, with that, this ended up breaking under 4 and then very quickly broke right back over 4, right? Like perfect to a T, chef's kiss type of entry. It's everything that you would want to see in this exact type of trade because I'll tell you, with it up as much as it is, I mean, hey, normally the stock isn't up as much like this on a given day, let alone week. And there's going to be some sell-off, some profit taking. I'm led to believe. This is probably some lower float, lower volume traded stock that normally makes these pops and drops. We see this all the time, of course, right? So with that, the QNGY, it's already up enough percentage-wise. When's it going to really tank? So seeing this just holds 4 here and allowing us the chance for the entry to run up towards 445, near 450. And then even now, just holding 4 here for the meantime. But, I'll tell you, the more it lays over this, then I'll tell you, it's not going to be too pretty. So you really want to see it explode and run and move off higher from these levels here. Right now on the ask, going to level 3 at least. I don't have my book map open right now, my level 4. But, at 425, you could at least see from my level 3 here, the matrix, a 52,000 share order. So, that's big resistance right there. And then there's also a 17K here at 420. So that's what's showing on level 3. Making a push. This thing's extremely liquid, actually, for the order book. I don't know the type of volume the stock trades day to day. Just from the end of last week, 8.4 million, but before that, just like a few 100,000 at most. So that's terrible. This stock hasn't traded any volume prior to the end of last week, and I'm sure it waned off over time afterwards, but trading a lot today. So maybe over time the stock could gain our trust as like a day-to-day sideless type of stock. But that takes me to the daily chart. So Fausto is calling this out earlier in the morning, folks, right over 4, like 402, 403. I wrote this in the chat board earlier as I was on a coaching call with one of our students. Ended up mentioning, hey, like, we have some historical levels here right off of like 402, 403, right? Myself and Jim. So with that, it ended up breaking above it. Doesn't mean that it's out of the doghouse and it's going to run. It needs to do that sooner than later. So just be mindful of that. And even here, I was noticing this right before I jumped on live for all of us on social media. A little bit of a channel this was in prior, right back from the end of September here, whatever highs these are, 438, 440, 440, 440. So look what happened just a moment ago. This is where I say be careful. Ended up topping off where, right at 445. That was from the morning, at least, actually. So it actually held under that price just now. That was from the morning. The market opened up from its initial run up. So, even furthermore, let's see this begin to make its move sooner than later. We'll put this on our list at least to begin. Bit of a tongue twister. All right, so let's go from top to bottom. Otherwise, right now, I got a coaching call with one of our students coming up at 3 p.m. Eastern, but no formal class. So, for any of these other stocks that ended up making a move, perhaps we can just like go over them, at least maybe see what the news is perhaps on a couple of them. I'll tell you, actually, looking back on QNGY, I'll just mention here, pre-market, you always want to look up news when you have the time. So pre-market, if I'm not trading, I'll look up news, scan around more, right? Cool. So news on Intel, Pinterest, earnings, and all that. And these cheapies, like the small caps that we traded this morning, including QNGY, I didn't see any formal news on that stock. That's also a slight concern to me. It's a natural short squeeze for as much as it dropped off. The shorts have, technically have been covering, allowing this to pump up alongside the day traders like us that look to buy it. But that's a huge gamble, though, once the volume peaks and dies off. So that's where you want to be really careful on a trade like this, just like you had from the morning session. All right, we'll keep it going. BHSE, spotty, really nothing happening there. All right, let's see what else we got. NUVL, is this a buyout? Check the news at least. Trying to make a squeeze up right now from seemingly 32, 32, 20-ish. It's just too illiquid either way. I mean, just ended up gapping up early in pre-market, consolidated a bit after the open, lower highs, snap, your lower low. So if this was more liquid, I'd consider it. But on a day like today, markets are at the highs. It's not worth it. There's plenty of other trades that look a lot better. There's plenty of other trades that look a lot better. I'm not going to say that for every single one, folks, but it just goes to show, right? Like even this one from the morning, DAIO, that was on our pre-market list, if I'm not mistaken. So, unfortunately, that was a dud. RUM, this one we've followed for a little bit, Rumble. So, recently ended up getting listed, ended up consolidating going into the end of the summer and effectively tanked. Made a nice dead cat bounce since, though. What's interesting about this, just doing a quick little chart session here, this is like too clean for me to not recognize. And I'm not going to be perfect with this, but just off the majority of the lows, ooh, that's clean. Yes, a false break in between, but ooh, that's clean. So, the dream would be to see this squeeze up higher up towards here over time as a target, on a swing, if that's what you're looking for. That's just a quick little something to look at. I'm sure that you could say the same on the downside off the highs, just right there. Has some good trends. Use that as a support line. But getting back to the intraday here, it's at the highs, taking us going into the close. Exactly what you would want to see, right? So RUM, I'm going to put this on our list. All right, what else we got here? Maybe we do have a nice afternoon taking us into the close. For a Friday afternoon for the weekly close, much like the weekly open, you normally anticipate some, volatility. some week-long trades, options trades that trickle into the equities market here, come into play. So in a stock like Intel, I feel like could be pretty flat going into the close just because of how much liquidity it trades. Maybe it makes the move back up to 29. So if you're looking for like a small little trade, you can do that. I'll keep this on our side list right now. Intel coming off good earnings today though, so at least there's a catalyst behind the potential run. But the thing is on this trade, and this is where I got fooled or misled. I mean, just it didn't make the volatile type of pop or continued move up, at least that I wanted to see. It made the continued move up here, but it took its sweet time across the morning where, hey, yesterday we looked at Shopify coming off strong earnings. That ran really well, really fast. I thought we were going to see a lot similar out of Intel. So I had a nice trade on it from the morning. Ended up locking in like a good trade initially, but ended up failing to get the continued move up later on. I was looking for a short down a little bit more, and then from that point ended up taking its time and pushed up higher without me. So from there ended up running up towards 29, 22. It just looks really flat here compared to what it did from the morning. So if I'm not a fan of this here and then how long it took from this point, I'm not a fan here. TAL, what happened here? TAL ended up making this little pre-market pop from like 415, 414, this like 70,000 share iceberg order early in pre-market. And I mean, effectively continued to push up since. I kind of took my eyes off it there afterwards. It really didn't look to make a move at first, but again, thankfully, if you waited long enough, it worked out. I guess patience pays off, but really flat here, taking us into the close, so not really worth it right now. Just one from the morning that we had. A day like today, markets moving up. I've been following this ETF a lot more, semiconductor bullish ETF, SOXL. Really, from the last week and a half, we've had our eyes on this, right? Even on the short side, as the markets were dropping off, from the end of September. So, saying that SOXL, should the markets pop, this could make a nice little move here, just a more volatile sector to work with. That would lead me to say, hey, maybe check out Intel, because Intel's part of this semiconductor like group with AMD and NVIDIA and Micron. I just feel like this will be more volatile. It's more leveraged, if anything. So, I feel like this can make the bigger percent move from this point. Intel had the initial pop off its earnings, though. So, if that's up more percentage wise up until this point, that's one thing. But I feel like Intel is going to be a little bit more flat. Oh, no, SOXL is actually up more percentage wise still. All right. All right, let's hop over to the loser side right now, see what's on that side of the field. I'm not expecting much if everything is up and the markets are at the highs. So there's our push up to even like close to 389 on the SPY. We're getting close to 390 pretty quickly. DVA, $71 stock, so I'm not going to be as keen to follow it, but just want to give it the look. But yeah, pretty flat for how expensive it is. I'll give the same look to EW. This is an ETF or something? No, this is, what is this? Awards Life Science Corp. Edwards. Geez, my eyes are bad. I got this bright light right now. It's like kind of making the chart hard to read, like this the watermark. Edwards Life Science Corp. Whew, that's a tough one to read right there. Let me turn this thing off. It's probably even easier. There we go. Oh, that's a hell of a lot easier. All right, now with this dropping down to 70. This is a trade. This looks like something that we can get our hands on as a short, dropping down, lower highs, down to a major support level at 70. You could just see from, more so the morning, just given how like darker green this is, but more from the morning, we had a bunch of volume filled at the bid off of 70. But hey, if the more this can pull back and break under this, hold under this, then it's more likely to see continuation from 70 into the close, dropping off a lot more. Just look what happened initially to Meta once it broke below 100 yesterday. The more times it was stabbing that level, it tanked like 3.5 points pretty quick. It retraced back up as the markets ended up pushing back up itself, granted, but it's all a matter of seeing a level getting stabbed and poked at over time. You got to expect to see it make a move. So, more expensive, but this trade EW, definitely a big fan of here as a short. Let me even just check the weekly, monthly chart. This is a nice catch. I didn't realize this was like a viable trade based off the liquidity. I just kind of ignored this stock today. Just really tight spread, thin volume to a degree, but that's just normal out of a more expensive trade. So I don't mind that as much. You got a really big support if you're looking for a true bottom around 66 or 65, like from here. That's a strong one, but it's pretty far away from that point right now. I wouldn't be expecting that at this point here. Back from, well, how about this? Back from 2 years ago, literally 2 years ago on this week, this bottomed out at, I got to squint my eyes again here. This bottomed out at 70.92. Well, it's way below that at this point. It's about $1 off from that point. So, if it's just continuing to break new levels here, this could be in line for a continued drop off pretty quickly. So, yeah, I like this trade, EW. Just trade small shares, but here we go. GDS. This thing's been taking a huge hit. Jeez. Talk about a potential short squeeze down the line. This thing, I'm sure at some point, don't hold your breath and don't hold me to that. But the more this drops, the more it's going to make a fractional move back up. And for us day traders, we'll look to jump all over that. But sheesh, that is as clean of a trend down, as sharp of a trend down. You can go from the highs there, but that doesn't even match as well. It's more like kind of like off this next high from the initial drop there. Doing a little charting today, having a little fun with you folks right now. Look at that. Oh, that is clean. So the more it accelerates from that trend, perhaps it could begin the bounce. Maybe even if it pulls back as low as like, who knows? It's like kind of there now, even, right? Like right off 960-ish, 950-ish. Look at that. The highs, this is a weekly chart back from all the way back from 2017. These highs roughly around, they're like 968, 949, 950. So roughly around that range. Would be interesting, but that's just based off that one level though. So we'll follow up with this actually as a potential swing trade going into next week even, but I'm not fully sold on it just yet. We'll just check more in with it next week. As a day trade right now, it's just not doing enough in terms of the volume traded per minute. So over time, day by day, we'll check in with this one. All right. So what else we got here, folks? I mean, not everything moved up. I mean, China stocks gapped down pretty badly overnight. XPEV, Neo, Lee, Billy, PDD, JD, like a lot of them ended up dropping down early from pre-market. So, I guess they're trying to squeeze back up right now. Not a whole lot to Neo or XPEV right now. Lee, this looks dead. All right. Move on from this. Chuck saying Roblox has a steady push movement trend. Word jambalaya there. Nice move though. You're right, and it has a good trend. So yeah, I mean it's a good sideless stock at that, right? There's a reason it's down still percentage wise on the day when the markets are up a lot right now. So it's pushing up pretty well at this point, but there's probably a lot that looks like this here. So if you do well on a Roblox day by day, then I'm sure that you'll be more inclined to follow it. It's a good one normally. AAL. Airlines are doing jack right now, at least. I shouldn't say that. Look at Jets. This is actually trending up well at the market. I don't know why American's so flat. You check in like a UAL, JetBlue maybe. This is flat, but at the highs. Cruise line maybe. And see like NCLH. Like NCLH looks good, right? If you do well on an NCLH day to day, then you're more inclined to follow it. GM, if anything, I'd be more inclined to watch coming off good earnings from earlier this week. And, we were following it from the end of, I think it was Wednesday of this week. It didn't make the biggest move at the time because I believe the markets were just kind of moving up slower. But now here we are going into the weekly close. This, I feel, if anything, could be a better one to watch. I wouldn't mind giving GM the look only because of the news that was added on top of it. Similar trends as the rest. So, But otherwise, the earnings that came out, this can get a nice little rub going into the close. All right, let me just check social media, Facebook Live, YouTube. I don't see anything right now. I think we may have caught them all, folks. I mean, we can go through some more sideless stocks here in a moment, but got a couple that are trending up well, so if you want to follow those, just as long as they're trading good volume per minute, at least comparative to the order books, then they're going to be a good trade. Like Roblox, NCLH didn't look bad. I don't really see much else otherwise from Benzinga Pro. I'm doing more of like a detailed look here. We got one, just see what the chart looks like at least. What was it, the BHSE? Nah, this thing is. They say it's creeping up right now. I guess it is the last couple of minutes, but it's too illiquid again. All right, I think that's going to wrap things up for us here, folks, for the day, for the week. All right, so for all of us on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube, hey, enjoy the weekend. If you're interested in joining our live trading room, just go right down to the link on the yellow banner below just to sign up for a small trial. Otherwise, though, like I said, enjoy the weekend. Any questions that you have, just feel more than free to send over through email. Just before joining our trading room, if you have any questions, at least prior. I always like to post my email here at the end, josh@c2trading.com. Otherwise, though, for Leda and Grant, Charles, and Chuck, and all of us here inside the live trading room. Charles had a nice day today. He messaged me. He had a really nice trade on the QNGY. So give a shout out to him and give a shout out to any one of us, at least, that ended up doing well from earlier today. Listen, you don't need to trade at this point going into the close, but if you're still sticking around, the weekly close could be pretty interesting. So for the stocks that we're going to start with, I'll definitely be following this here with one of my students on a coaching call coming up. So I'll chat with you folks coming up pretty shortly. Take care.
Become a Cyber Group member today. Just click the link below and receive all these amazing products and a world of knowledge for just $9. Do it today.